Bitcoin's dumping again, and I think I can say for sure that absolutely nobody is surprised this is happening right now. But I wanted to make a video just kind of explaining what I think about everything and what I'm doing going forward. Now, the reason this dump happened yesterday was due to a rumor going around that Wintermute, a trading exchange for digital assets, was actually suing Binance due to the October 10th crash, claiming some level of manipulation. Now that this has come out that this is not true. This is CZ. He even reposted a tweet from Wintermute of them saying they have no plans to sue Binance or see any reason to do so in the future. And he even said himself, if someone made you believe otherwise, it's time to click unfollow. But the reason I bring this up is because I think it just goes to show that this market's a bit on a knife's edge right now. And even the slightest hint of bad news is going to make this market just crumble down even more. And to be honest with you, I don't think we see any meaningful recovery, in all honesty, coming anytime soon until the government can open back up. And I'll give you my personal opinion on this is that I believe that it will happen this week. And I'm not sure. It's just speculation here. But we have some pretty major elections going on today. And I think after today, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, we actually see the government open back up after these elections happen. Now, the thing with the government opening back up is there's not going to be the government opens back up and everything's back to normal. It's going to take a couple weeks of liquidity from the government to feed back into the market to have a meaningful recovery. A lot of our economy is completely dependent on the liquidity that the government brings to it because so much of our economic spending is because of the government. And there's a few things I wanted to go through just so, things I'm looking at and for you guys to be careful of too. Ever since this crash that happened on October 10th, and now this chart says that it wicked down to 109, but it really wicked down to 103. And we've seen this has kind of formed up to be somewhat of a bottom at 103. And wicked down right here, again here, and even today, and even just a hair below, just really quick below it, and now we're back above it. And that is kind of forming somewhat of a bottom. And to expand that even more, we've actually kind of had a top form here, as we've seen 116K hit here, 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 and here. So to me, what that means is any trading within 116 to 103 is just noise to wipe out leverage. And we have seen this over and over again because, as we know, this event right here, yes, Trump tweeted that 100% tariffs were going on China, but we know that this was an excuse for market makers to just wipe out insane amounts of leverage. And then what happened after this? We had a V-shaped recovery and people thought everything was good to go. People piled back in longs, and what happened? We dumped right back down and then wrecked everybody again. And then what happened? We started to recover. People piled back into longs again, and here we are. They're getting wrecked again. Now, obviously, there was a few things that kind of assisted in that downward trend, like the Fed being dovish, and now this winter mute rumor. But all I see right here is that we're just chopping around in these ranges. Now, if the government shutdown continues to go on, there can start to be some really longer lasting effects that can make this market go down even further, which is something I think that everybody should keep in mind. The longer that the government's closed down and that all that liquidity isn't being spent and paid, and people aren't being paid, it's going to start hurting the economy even more. And we can definitely dump down to 198, even lower if this goes on too much longer. But as long as we're in this 116 to 103K range, I know it's a little bit of a broad range, but I'm generally not overly worried about it. And I tend to believe that it's going to end up being more chop than anything else. And it's just going to be, you know, just an area where leverage is wiped out. But one thing I do want to mention that if the government does end up opening back up this week or whenever it ends up opening back up, I wouldn't FOMO into things if we start to just rally up after that. And that's my personal opinion, and this isn't financial advice, and please read the disclaimer down below. But I could just see a world where the government opens up, say, for example, this week, and we pump and we go right up to this 116K line, and then we just get rejected back down. And then again, we go all the way back down. I'm not going to say a price, we don't know, but it could just ruin a whole bunch of leverage longs. And that's something that could legitimately happen. So for now, what I'm doing is just making sure that I have a plan for if it goes down or if it goes up. And my tendency is that we will go up. We're just going through a bit of a rough area right now. And once the government opens back up, and once quantitative tightening ends, and government data can continue to be released, things will become a bit less restrictive and give the ability for risk assets to actually have a meaningful move, like gold did, with the top that it's had recently. But time will tell with that, and we're going to see where we go going forward. This is all to say this market is clearly on a nice edge right now, and even just a rumor can cause the market to dump down or pump up in no time at all. And I think the most important thing you can do right now is having a plan if the market goes down, knowing what you're doing at certain price levels, and if the market goes up, same thing, know what you're doing at certain price levels. And also, like I mentioned before, looking forward and knowing what macro events are coming so you can have a better idea on where the market might move going forward. And if you can do that, and if you can have a plan, it starts to take a lot of the emotion out of the trade. And if you can take your emotion out of the trade and you know what you're doing no matter what way this market goes, then I really think you got to step up on other people who aren't doing that. And as we've seen over this last month, there's a lot of people who don't have a plan.